Hey guys, and welcome to this week's Ellechat on growing, organizing, and utilizing your mailing list. I've been super excited about this Ellechat for a while now because one of my favorite creatives, Paul Jarvis, is joining me today, and he is a mailing list pro. His Sunday dispatches are probably my favorite newsletter to follow along with. I actually get excited when that email comes in my inbox. But not only that, Paul also has a course that he just recently launched called Chimp Essentials, rather, and it focuses on MailChimp. So he is the perfect person. I could not have thought of anybody better to bring on and talk about mailing lists. But before we get started, I just want to show you around to those who might be new to Ellechat, show you around this space in Crowdcast. So right below this screen, there's a section for you to ask questions. Seems like several of you have already found this feature, but feel free to join in and leave questions in there as we go along. You can also vote up questions, which is a really awesome feature. So if you see a question that you really want answered, go ahead and vote it up. And I usually go in order of the votes if we haven't covered the topic already in the question and answer that I'll have with Paul. Also, there's a poll there, and I'm asking you, which email marketing platform do you currently use? So it looks like MailChimp is the front runner right now. There's also ConvertKit, Aweber, Infusionsoft, and other. So looks like 70% of you use MailChimp. I do too. Paul does too. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. But yeah, so thank you for joining in. And Paul, welcome. Thank you for joining in today.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. And I will say that you actually helped me teach a few of the lessons in Chimp Essentials, all the Squarespace stuff, because you're the pro with Squarespace. So thank you for that. Thank you for being part of Chimp Essentials.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking me to be part of it. It was really fun, and I've gone through a lot of the lessons too, and they've been really, really helpful for me. I wasn't utilizing MailChimp the way I could have been. So I'm still excited to learn more about segmenting in groups today from Paul, which we're going to talk about too. But so Paul, can you introduce yourself? I feel like I can't quite do you justice in my own introduction. So can you tell us who you are, what you do, maybe even how you got started?
Sure. I don't even know if I can do myself justice with an intro. Basically, I'm Paul Jarvis. I've been a web designer for about 20 years, and now I spend more time teaching freelancers and creatives how to do and be better with their business with things like the Chimp Essentials course and my freelancer course, the creative class, and the writing that I do and the books that I write. So basically, I'm just here to help creatives do business better. That's kind of, I guess, the intro for myself right now.
Yes. Paul isn't a one-trick pony. He has many different hats that he wears and wears them well. So are you ready to just jump right into the questions and get started? Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
So there's a lot of talk out there about mailing lists. And I know I, for one, underestimated how huge and helpful utilizing a mailing list can be for engaging with my audience and reaching my audience. So can you tell us a little bit about why mailing lists are so important and why so many people are stressing the importance of them?
Yeah, and I think really the bottom line is that for myself and for a lot of creatives that I know, mailing lists are the best way to, one, communicate with our audiences, and two, make money. Because when I look at things like social spends or ad spends that I do or that other creatives do, nothing has the return on investment that a mailing list does. And if I look at my own list, for every buck I spend, I make 120 bucks. Which for a business decision, it's like, why don't I put all of my eggs in this basket, because it makes so much sense.
Right.
But on the other side of that, just commerce aside, because commerce is obviously a big part of it, but it's not the only part, email and email marketing feels like the best one-to-many relationship that feels like a one-on-one relationship. Because if you're, say, signed up for my list, I'm showing up in your personal space in your inbox. And it's like I'm having a direct conversation with you. And that's actually how I try to write my emails, is like I'm having a direct conversation with, it doesn't matter how many people are on my list. I'm having a direct conversation with each and every single one of them. And right now, like, I don't even have my email address on my website. But if you reply to my newsletter, I pretty much reply to everybody unless somebody doesn't ask a question. Then I'm just like, cool, and then I move the email to archive. But I talk to pretty much everybody that I talk to is because they're on my list, because that's where I like to communicate the most with my audience, is my mailing list. And it's just, I don't know, it's just the best.
Yeah. It seems like a much more personal way. Instead of reaching the masses, it feels a lot more personal when you get an email in your inbox.
Yeah, and you're not competing with, say, social media where everybody's talking all at the same time. If you're reading an email, you're not reading 10 other emails at the same time, unless you're some superhero that can read, I don't know, multiple emails on multiple screens, or you have like a wall of monitors or something. It's a focus. And I think that focus is so important. And I think that focus is what makes email so great.
Yeah. I think it's really important. I know I for one love blogging, and that's been a huge focus for me. But people have to remember to come to my blog every time. So with my mailing list, I'm reminding them that, hey, I'm here, and hey, you need to come back and read this post or join this Ellechat or whatever it might be. I'm making the first move instead of depending on them to come take a look at what Ellen Company is doing.
Exactly. You're showing up where they already spend most of their time, which is in their email program. So it's such a great way to stay in touch, and even just not for selling things, just staying in touch in terms of what you're doing, what you're thinking about, what you're talking about, what you're blogging about. Mm-hmm. I think, yeah, it's just a great way to keep top of mind for people.
Yeah. So you have your weekly newsletter that you send out each week. And I know that you have segmented your list and you have a bunch of different lists going on. But for that Sunday dispatches, how have you utilized that list? How has it come in handy for you?
Yeah, so the Sunday dispatches list is basically, I write one article a week. I send it out on Sunday, which makes sense because it's called the Sunday dispatches. And that's just my way, because I'm primarily a writer, that's my way of sharing with my audience the things I'm thinking about and the things that I listen to my audience, what they're thinking about, and then I write articles about that. And then a few times a year, I'll have a product, and then I'll mention that product. And that's pretty much the primary driver of revenue. Like, all of my revenue basically comes from some mailing list, mostly the Sunday Dispatches mailing list. So I spend basically 50 weeks of the year spending a lot of time and money writing articles that I hope resonate with my audience. And then a couple times a year, I tell them, if you're interested in this, you probably will be interested in this new product that I made. And if you want to buy it, here's how. And then those people, thankfully, luckily, and appreciatively, purchase the things that I make. So I don't need to go out. I don't need to spend a ton of money on advertising. I don't need to think about massive social media campaigns. I can just basically talk to my list the way that I talk to them every week and say, hey, everybody, if you want to buy this new thing, I've probably talked about it for a few months prior. Now it is available, and now you have access to buy it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the benefits of building trust with your audience and coming in week after week with just helpful information, not asking anything out of them, so that when you do go, when you do have a product to launch, it feels more organic. It doesn't feel like you're trying to use your list all the time. I think trust is huge.
Yeah, smart marketing is reciprocal. So I'm providing value to the people on my list as often as I can, and because I really like to do that. And then when I do have something available, then they feel that they trust me because I've spent all of this time and effort writing things for them, that they gladly want to take in what I've made.
Yeah, and if they like your content each week and they see how helpful you are, they're more than likely going to purchase a course or whatever it is you have to offer, because they see how valuable, or the value that you're bringing them each and every week.
Yeah, and they see if my personality is a good fit for how they want to learn. Like, obviously, like even on Chimp Essentials, there's so many monkey jokes. I feel like I made the course sometimes just because I wanted to make a bunch of monkey jokes. But people get to know me through my list and through my writing and through what I share with my mailing list every week. And then it's easier to sell just being like really me. And I don't have to pretend to be somebody I'm not, or pretend to be anything. It's just like, you know me, like you read my articles. If you like it, you stayed on the list. If not, you've left, and that's fine too. And we're having a conversation. And now here's this thing that I've made, and it's the same tone. It's the same me that I put into it. It's just now packaged into a product that's for sale.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a smart way of looking at it. And And you've done an awesome job too of authentically marketing and branding yourself, but creating an audience who loves you. It's so easy. Well, I'm part of that audience too. It's so easy to love Paul Jarvis and love love his rats. Like, I feel like, I don't know, he's just created this awesome brand that's one of a kind. So yeah,
Well, thank you.
kudos to you on that.
Thank you. And I think that's something that some people miss sometimes, is that you can actively foster and build an audience that you want. You don't have to just be stuck with the audience that you've got. You can build an audience of, like, I love my audience because they're people that I actually like to talk to. Like, I built an audience of people who I think are smart and who don't mind being challenged and who appreciate to some degree my silly jokes and that sort of thing. So I think that being intentional with building an audience that's right for you is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And that goes into, if people unsubscribe from your list, I think it's easy to take that personally. But I think for me, it's so helpful because I know that person would have never bought from me. They probably aren't the right fit, and I want to build an audience of people who do enjoy following along.
Exactly. And I'm cheap, and that just means I don't have to pay for them to be on my list anymore. So it's great.
That too. That's helpful too. So speaking of building lists, how have you gotten people to opt into your list? What strategies have you used to grow your list?
Yeah, so that's changed over time. So initially, when I was focused more on audience building, I would do things like a lot of guest writing and interviews. And at the end of every guest post, because I used to write for lots of publications, at the end of every post, I would say, like, Paul Jarvis is a web designer. If you would like more articles like this, sign up for his Sunday Dispatches. And that was basically my byline in some form for every single article that I ever wrote for every publication. And the other thing that I did was interviews. And then in those interviews, I would make sure to mention that. And if people were like, well, what do you want to promote? Like the person interviewing me, I always say my mailing list. And even on my website, if people go to it, you'll notice that there are no social media shares, there are no comments. There's nothing other than the ability to sign up for my list. And I've A/B tested this ruthlessly. And every time I take something out, I get more people signing up for my list. And because my overall strategy for my website is to get people on my mailing list, that's kind of what I've been testing and trying to achieve. And so that's been my goal for the last 2 years, is basically growing the list to some degree. So that really helped. But then what I found as well is it's not enough to get people on your list. Like, that'll only attribute to small spikes in growth, but it's equally important to get people to want to stay on your list. So in conjunction with growing that audience, I've always been focused really relentlessly on creating the best content possible. That's why I have a copy editor and an editor and a mastermind group that I pass my ideas through first, because I want the content to basically speak for itself and to make people that should be there want to be there more. And what I found now that my audience has grown, I guess, substantially, is that the main way that my list grows is by me writing articles for my list. So the audience growth happens because people read my articles that are on my list and share those articles with their audience. And so all I need to do is make sure that the things that I share with my audience are the best ever, or the best that they can be. And then they take care of sharing it and organic growth for me, which I love.
Right. Another key to really helpful content isn't only that trust that you're building with them, but the shares. They find it helpful, they're usually more than willing to share it. I know I shared the happiness and gravy one that came in my inbox. I loved that one. And with a catchy title like happiness and gravy, how could you not open that?
Subject lines are important, but a lot of times people think like, okay, well, what's the best marketing or best return on investment for subject lines? A lot of what I found is that subject lines, it's just something that stands out and is catchy and is on brand to you. Like for me, if you look at the last 12 months of articles, so it's 12 times 4, that's a lot of articles. My articles that get opened the most are the ones with the weirdest headlines, like happiness and gravy. So sometimes it's not just a matter of like, okay, what's the best return on investment or marketing speak that I could put into the headlines? It's like, what's going to stand out if somebody has 100 emails? There's not going to be a single email in their inbox about gravy, unless they're gravy enthusiasts, in which case I want to meet this person.
Right. But it's also so on brand for you, because I feel like if I
Yeah.
said happiness and gravy, people would be like, Lauren is not the one writing this email.
Yeah,
So
exactly. So the brand aspect of it is so very important. And to make it sound like it's coming from you, like I read all of my articles out loud. Because if I sound like an idiot or if I sound like a jerk, then it's like, okay, this doesn't sound like me. And that's really what I care about the most in my writing, is that it sounds like me.
right, that if somebody were joining in on a webinar with you or your podcast or whatever it is, that it sounds consistent across the board.
Exactly. And that's the best compliment that I feel like I get from people, is if they talk to me, they're like, "You're so much like your writing." It's like, okay, yes. It's working. It's so much work to get to do that and to stay consistent with it. But I feel like that pays off, because I would rather show people who I really am in my newsletter.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that people miss too, is that everyone starts to sound the same. And one crucial piece of your brand is your tone and the words that you use, and that it sounds consistent, whether you're writing it on your blog or your newsletter or a social media post or a webinar or Periscope, whatever it might be. So I think you do
Exactly.
that well. So
Thank you.
we mentioned it earlier that you use MailChimp, and of course you have a course on MailChimp. So why do you prefer MailChimp over other platforms like Aweber and ConvertKit and some of those?
Definitely. And I mean, I'm not affiliated with MailChimp in any way. They don't pay me any money. I'm sure they're happy that I'm teaching a course on MailChimp, but it's not, they didn't pay me to make this course. But I think I like MailChimp because, one, that's what I know and that's what I've used for many, many years. And I feel like all of the things that I want to be able to do, like all of the fancier things like automating and segmenting my automations, like all of that crazy stuff is easy to do in MailChimp. So that's kind of what I like. And I mean, like, I'm really good friends with Nathan Barry. Like, him and I have projects together. He's the guy who made ConvertKit.
Right.
So ConvertKit's great, but I like to use MailChimp. It would be so hard for me to move off of MailChimp because I have so much like stuff to make my list work that it's just, I keep telling, because he's like, why don't you just come to ConvertKit? I'm like, it would be too much work to move. So there's lots of good platforms. I don't think MailChimp is the best at everything. I just think that for my business and the way that my business runs and the way that I think about running my business is just what makes sense the most for me. But like, I've absolutely, I think ConvertKit's great. I think Infusionsoft is kind of Confusionsoft. Like all of my friends and clients that use it, they have like the best thing going for them, because you buy it and then you need to hire an Infusionsoft certified expert to set it up for you. And Infusionsoft makes money off of certifying experts. So they're double dipping. That's super smart, like good for them. But it's really hard to use. And I run a business that's just me. I don't have an assistant. I don't have a team. I need to be able to do the things that I need to do in my email marketing very quickly and just get in, set it up, get out, and be done with it and go on about my day. And MailChimp's the easiest thing for me to do that with.
I agree. I got started with MailChimp and it's what I know. And I feel like it would take so much time to switch over to something rather than just learn how I can utilize MailChimp better.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I know that I struggle with in MailChimp in particular, but I think this is the case for any platform that you're using, is getting your emails to appear in people's inboxes. So making it so that it doesn't go straight to spam, or how can we take those steps to be sure that people see our emails and that the emails don't end up in spam folders?
Yeah, so there's a few things there. I think the first thing is how you set your list up in the first place. If you're just carte blanche adding people to your list without their permission, you're going to get flagged as a spammer, and then it's not going to work out. You can't buy lists, you can't rent lists. You have to get people on your mailing list who have expressly consented to getting these emails, because those people are less likely to mark it as spam or to unsubscribe. And those things raise red flags for mail. They raise red flags for any newsletter software because they don't want their IP addresses to be blacklisted. So making sure your list in the beginning is set up properly and only people who have asked to be on your list are on your list. That's the first thing. The second thing is making sure that your emails are being sent from an email address that you have verified is you, so people aren't spoofing it. And what I mean by that is you need to set up DKIM and an SPF record, which sounds really nerdy, but really there's a few steps, and I walked through it in the course, but it's also on MailChimp's knowledge base, not in video form. But you add 2 records to your domain registrar. You add a TXT record and a CNAME record, and that proves to MailChimp and proves to every ISP that receives emails, like all of your subscribers use an ISP to get the emails delivered. It proves that you are who you say you are and you are attached to this email address, and that decreases the likelihood of things going to spam. As far as going to, like, I think sometimes the promotions tab is worse than spam for some people. And I think there's ways around it, but there's also sometimes, like, a couple of my friends run curated newsletters. So their newsletters are a collection of links, and they're all valid links. It's talking about a specific subject, like my friend Kale, who runs the Hacker News Digest. It's just a list of hacker news links. But Gmail sees those as, oh, there's a lot of links in here, or maybe it's a promotion. Or if your email is so image heavy, it's like, that's probably something from Target. Maybe I'm gonna put that into the promotions tab. So what myself and what a lot of people who basically use content to run their businesses do is, our emails are simple. Like Sunday Dispatches is my name written out. That's the only image typically in the email. It's plain text. There may be a link or two, but that seems to make sure that emails show up. And also just asking people when they subscribe to make sure they add you to their contact list, because if your contact list people don't go into promotions and are less likely to go to spam unless other people have. But there's no guarantee. Like, I wish I knew how Gmail figured out what goes to spam or not. Right. So, but there's spam checkers in MailChimp, and it's not that, like, you can run an inbox inspection. It's not 100% guaranteed that just because you pass that, it's going to skip spam. But it also helps you it helps you get through things like using words that you think are innocuous or think are fine, but are words that spammers use. Then it can help with that. Like I won't even get into some of the words, but there's some words that in some contexts are 100% totally normal, and in some contexts are really, really dirty.
Yes, I can totally relate to that with my last name. So that's why I use Element Company instead of Lauren Hooker Design. Yeah. So I think that's really helpful, though, to know what to look out for, to not use a ton of images, maybe focus more on the content. Or I know I had heard this, and Paul, you might be able to confirm it, but using like exclamation points in the newsletter titles. Have you heard of that too, or the subject lines?
All caps or excessive punctuation, never a good idea. It also sounds like you're shouting at your audience, which also, like, logically is not a good idea, but also that triggers a lot of spam filters if there's lots of exclamation marks, or if it's in all caps. But you don't want to do that anyway. So that's smart across the board, I think.
Yeah. I think instead of that, come up with a catchy headline like happiness and gravy.
Exactly. Just talk about gravy. You will be fine.
Gravy. Keep that in mind. So a few minutes ago, you mentioned setting up automated campaigns in MailChimp, and what are the advantages of setting up an automated campaign? And maybe we should even start out with what is an automated campaign for those who may not be familiar with it.
Sure. And I think that even people that aren't familiar with it are doing it, because if you think about the welcome email that gets sent to people when they've signed up and confirmed to be on your list, that's actually automation. So everybody is doing automation, whether they know it or not. And so what that means is that automation is sending emails when you're not setting the campaign time to send. So if somebody does something or triggers something, then an email is sent from your mailing list to them. So for example, if somebody signs up for, say, the free lessons for Chimp Essentials, they get an email saying, here's how you access this, and here's what the course is about. I didn't schedule that to send out at Tuesday at 9 a.m. It sends it out because MailChimp notices, like, this person signed up for this list. They're set to, in the back end, they're set to a free lesson subscriber. So if they're a free lesson subscriber, free lesson subscribers get this first email immediately. And then a day later, it triggers another email, like, have you been able to check out the lessons yet? And then a day later, it triggers another email asking, I think it's like a survey or something like that. The next email talks about like, would you promote this to other people? If they click yes, then it triggers a segmented automation sequence saying like, if you want to promote this to people, maybe join the affiliate program. If they didn't click that they wanted to promote it, I wouldn't want to send them a link to the affiliate program. So it can start to get a little seemingly complicated, but it's basically you set up your automation sequence, you set up what the conditions are for that sequence, and then you turn it on. And then anytime somebody signs up for your list, they get triggered based on certain rules if they should be sent this email or not. For example, I don't want to send pitch emails to people who have bought the course. So if somebody signs up for the free lessons and there's 5 days of lessons, if they buy the course on the second day, I don't want to pitch them on the third, the fourth, and the 5th day. So they only get the next lessons if they have not purchased it. So MailChimp is smart enough to know, well, if somebody bought this, then I shouldn't send this email out. So I just create a segment in my automation to make that happen. And that's what this is why I made the course, because I walked through like actually setting this up from start to finish, because I think that's what the beauty of online courses is. Like, you listen to me and I'm like on the screen and I'm walking through, clicking around in MailChimp and setting all this up. So it's so much easier to show somebody than to talk about it.
Oh yeah, to try to explain it. And Paul does really well too, because the lessons are so short. So you're not sitting there for like an hour watching how to segment lists. Like it's pretty quick.
Yeah, they're 5 to 10 minutes, like in and out. There's no fluff. It's just in and out. Here's how you do each specific thing.
Right. I think the more too that I've gotten into email marketing and building a mailing list, the more I've realized that that's what separates like the professionals and those who do it right from those who are just starting out and not utilizing mailing lists to their maximum potential. Because taking that extra step to think ahead of time what you could be sending people and figuring out those automated campaigns and just being really intentional and strategic with what you're sending people and following up with them, I think is huge. So being able to set up those automated campaigns can go a really long way.
Mm-hmm. It also frees up time. Like I think I have about 6 or 7 courses, a couple books, 2 podcasts. And basically every single part of my business that can be automated is automated, because I'm one guy. Like there's no way I could do all of this stuff. But with automation, it's basically set it and forget it. Like I set it up before, like if say Chimp Essentials launched March 1st, I had this set up at the middle of February. So on launch day, all I needed to do is click like, turn on. Now it's on. And now it's all running. So now people get it's basically, email marketing has kind of had a few phases. So it's had just like the fire hose of you just email everybody all the stuff anytime you're emailing people. And now it's like, it's 3 things. It's sending the right email to the right person at the right time. And that's why things like automation and segmenting and groups and all of that are so important, because you can be so smart with what you send to whom on your list. And it just makes it that much better. Like you don't want to send things to people pitching them that they've already purchased and things like that. Or you don't want to send things to people who have told you they're only interested in one thing. You don't want to send them, you keep sending them that, because then they're going to leave, right? So I think there's such an easy way once you learn it. It does take a little bit to learn, but once you learn it, it becomes like, it may take an hour to set up the first automation and then 10 minutes the second time, because you know it and you have it right after. So I think there's such an opportunity for people to be really smart with the way that they talk to their newsletter. And that's why things like MailChimp are great. And even ConvertKit, same thing. You can tag users and just be smart about the way that you talk to them and what you send to whom.
Yeah. So you mentioned a second ago, along with automation, segments and groups from your list. So first off, what are they and how are they different? Yeah.
So hold on. I'm actually going to look at, because I talk about this in one of the lessons in Chimp Essentials, and I worded it in a way that was smarter than I could just say right now. So groups and segments are similar but different. Groups organize people by interest with subcategories, and segments are a way of associating data with subscribers that have common qualities. And that sounds kind of not that clear, but so a group is a way that you can kind of organize people. Like, for example, it's easier to talk in examples. So on my list, when you purchase a product that I have, you get put into a group under products for me. So I have a group name of products, and then under that group name, I have the 20 or 30 products that I have, which is ridiculous. I should stop making so many things. But so now I can see who has purchased what. So I can say like, okay, maybe I want to reward like the most awesome people on my list who bought every single thing that I have. And so I would make a segment on my list of people who have purchased like 10 or more of my products. And then I could send them some ridiculous deal or some bonus or something that only they get. Because I want to reward people that have bought pretty much all of the things, because those people I think are amazing. It's awesome when that happens. Or you could say, I want to send an email to everybody that has purchased this product, but not these products. So when you're creating a campaign, you can say, okay, if the group is this, but not this, then I want to trigger this email. I want to send this campaign or send this automation. And segments are just a way of associating, like, I guess, kind of tags or data to a person. So for me, another example of that is a merge field. Actually, no, we're talking about segments. So segments is a way of organizing people for if you're sending a campaign or if you're making an automation sequence, like segmenting off paid people from a free sequence, for example. Yeah. And then merge fields, which is what I was going to talk about, is another way of creating segments of people. So you can create hidden merge fields, and you and I talked about this in the Squarespace lesson. Is you can create a merge field for what page people signed up on in Squarespace or in WordPress or in basically anything, and then you can create segments of those merge fields for people. Say they sign up on a page for webinars, for a specific webinar, then you would trigger an automation sequence. So everybody that has this merge field of like Paul and Lauren's webinar would get an automation of, hey, the webinar is about to start, or if you missed it, here's a replay of the webinar. So it's just ways of organizing people in your list that isn't just, here's a list of everybody. It's here's a list of everybody, and each of them has different interests and different things that they purchased or different places that they've signed up from. And then you can start to get really smart and do some really fun things with email.
Yeah, I was very guilty of not utilizing segments and groups and set up different lists for different things. So people would be, the same email address would be on 2 different lists, and I'm paying for it twice, which is stupid. So for me, it was really helpful to be able to say, okay, all of these are going to the newsletter, but these are the people, and the hidden merge fields and segments and groups allowed me to say, okay, these people opted in from the Design Your Brand opt-in on the homepage. I have 4 different opt-ins there. They're all going to the newsletter. Everyone who enters their email there, they're not going to their separate list. They're all going to the same list, but I'm able to see through those merge tags or those hidden merge tags. They opted in on Design Your Brand. They're interested in design. They opted in on Create Your Website. They're interested in Squarespace. So if I have a product that's design related or Squarespace related or marketing related, then I know because of all of those options. So it helps you get to know your list a lot better too.
Exactly.
And see what they're interested in, rather than them all signing up for the newsletter, all going to the list and not knowing where they came from.
Exactly. And a point to touch on there too, as you said, like somebody, if you have multiple lists, if one person exists on all that list and you're paying for them 3 times, which is 3 cents, it doesn't really matter. But if there's 1,000 people across all of those lists, like this starts to get really expensive. And this is actually something that I think MailChimp could do better. But you can set it up in MailChimp so everybody goes to the same list. They're just categorized with like the things that they're interested in based on where they signed up or what they purchased or what they haven't purchased. And then the level of personalization you can add to emails is just night and day. And I think the end user appreciates that because they want to be talked to based on what's relevant to them, not like, I already bought this. Why are they telling me about this thing? I already own that. So it's just, it's smart. It's actually a lot of fun. That's one of my most favorite things to do, is set up those kind of things.
Yeah, I've been guilty of that happening too, probably pretty recently. So I just feel like learning these tools is crucial because it allows you to utilize it better, to serve your audience better, to build trust with them more, to know their interests better, to not send them things if you know they're already not interested in it. So it's definitely worth learning. It might take a little bit of time at the outset, but like Paul said, once you get started, it's a piece of cake later. So.
It's such a reusable skill. Like,
yes.
you learn it the one time and then you've mastered it. And then for every new product you have, you already have this skill that you can just keep applying and applying and applying.
Yeah. Another thing, talking about segments and groups and automation, you mentioned it a little while ago with your Sunday dispatches, but it was A/B testing. So with A/B testing in your mailing list, can you explain what that is and why it's helpful, why people should be utilizing it?
Yeah, so A/B testing is really just making decisions based on data instead of guessing. So an A/B test is you have two ideas, you don't know which is the best idea, so you test it with a little bit of your list, and whichever idea wins gets sent out to the rest of the list. So an example here is you want to test a headline, like maybe it's happiness and gravy versus process and outcome for the subject line of your email. So what you do is create an A/B test for subject lines. You would send that to 20% of your list. So 10% of your list would get happiness and gravy as the subject line. 20% of your list would get process and outcome as the subject line. And then MailChimp would see, okay, based on this, we'll track it over 4 hours, because you can set the time limit in MailChimp. And then whichever email gets opened more, process and gravy or process and outcome, that email goes to the other 80% of your list. So you're sending your strongest idea to the bulk of your mailing list. So 80% of your list gets something you've already tested. And you can test subject lines, you can test like from emails, you can even test content, like see which picture converts better in terms of sales, or which tagline for your product converts better for sales. So it's just fun to see, because you can, as a creator, you can kind of think like, okay, I think this is going to work. I think this is the best idea, but you never know until it's out there in front of your audience. And then for myself, because my articles go to my list first and then my website second, if I A/B test a headline, then 80% of my list gets the best headline. But then that's the headline that I put on my blog post in WordPress as well, right? So you can see,
so smart.
Yeah, you can see what the best thing is based on testing it with your audience, instead of just like, this is probably what I think is best. But then, sometimes the most surprising things do the best, and you wouldn't have known otherwise unless you kind of tested it with a little group of people and then sent the winning thing to the rest of the people.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that I've learned a lot recently too, is you might think you know your audience really well, but do you actually know them? And so by A/B testing, you're taking out the guesswork from it all.
Exactly.
So I think that's really smart, especially when you're going to sell products. So if not just for your weekly newsletters, A/B testing could be helpful, but especially when you go to sell your products or your services.
Yeah, I changed the tagline on Chimp Essentials based on an A/B test that I did. So the headline used to be something like "No BS video lessons on MailChimp" versus "Having MailChimp costs you money, knowing MailChimp makes you money." That second headline destroyed the first headline in an A/B test. So that's now the headline on the website, and that's actually been converting better than the original headline. So you can apply the winners of your A/B test to so many different things. Like, I changed the tagline of my product based on an A/B test, and it worked out so much better.
And it's so easy. How long did it take you to set up an A/B test in MailChimp?
I clicked the button and I added the 2 headlines, and then MailChimp takes care of the rest. So it's ridiculously easy, but people skip that and they're like, I'm just going to click regular old campaign and be done with it. And if you just click the A/B test campaign instead, it takes you maybe an extra 15, 20 seconds, and then you have much better data to make decisions from.
And you said that it automatically, you don't have to go back in and check the data and then decide and send it out. MailChimp already does it for you.
Yeah, you can set it to manual and do it for you, but I just always set it to manual. So the winner of the open, if you're testing subject lines, the winner should be the one that got opened the most. So I always just say, like, okay, the winner of the opens for 4 hours is what's going to win, and that's what I consider the winner. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
taking note of that. I haven't utilized A/B testing like I should. I told you guys I was just as excited about today's Ellechat as the people tuning in. I have a lot to learn when it comes to utilizing my mailing list.
But, you'll see how well gravy converts in subject lines next week. I'm looking forward to your email.
If you see gravy, you know exactly where it came from, and you need to click through and read it. So once people opt into your mailing list, and you talked about, well, you mentioned it briefly again, but they have to say yes. I think it's called a double opt-in.
Yes.
Okay. So they have to say, yes, I want to be a part of this newsletter. So how can you customize that? Is that where you welcome them onto your list, or how do you go about that whole process when someone does opt into your list?
Yeah, so you want to make sure that they know that they're so close, but not quite there yet. Because MailChimp doesn't even keep track of people who got the confirmation email but didn't click it, because technically you have not received consent until they've clicked the confirm button, and then you're not breaking any CAN spam laws. So you want them to click that button. You want to make sure that they know they're just about there. All they have to do is click that one button, and their life will be so much better because they are now receiving your emails. So in MailChimp, if you just click on lists and then sign up forms, you can just customize that. There's a drop down of like the sign up page, the confirmation email, the confirmation page, the final welcome email. You just edit that text and make it sound like you, and make it sound like there's a compelling reason. I just realized this. My confirmation message with the button has a testimonial from Nathan Barry, the guy who owns ConvertKit, talking about how much he likes me as a writer. So I'm actually never going to change that now that I think about it, because that's
I was going to say, smart move.
Yeah, but so there's a testimonial from somebody that my audience possibly knows as like, Paul's writing is, I don't remember what the testimonial is, but it's something nice that Nathan said because he's a nice guy. And it's just like, if you want my writing, you have to click confirm. Like, you're so close. And if you click, when you're editing the sign up page, any of the sign up process pages, you can click the translate button, and that doesn't make it another language. That gives you the ability to edit things like the button text. So I think some of mine say like confirm yo, because it's silly, but you can edit the text of the fields on your forum. You can edit the text on your buttons if you click the translate button. And a lot of people don't know that. That's just one of those like hidden kind of things in MailChimp where they should do a better job at telling you that you're not translating it to Greek. You're actually just changing the words on a button. So, but yeah, the translate tab in that process is really good for making it sound like it's coming from you, because I think the onboarding process is really important to show people who you are and why they're on your list and not somebody else's list. So adding a bit of style to that, changing that ugly gray background to maybe white or something that's on brand to you, it just really helps. And welcome emails are opened a ton more than any other email that you'll ever send to people. So that first email you send is the most opened email that people to your list will ever see. And it also I was reading in a study, it converts 320% better for commerce than any other email you'll ever send your list. And a lot of people, their welcome email is just like, thanks for signing up for our list. And it's like a one-person company. So it's like spending a bit of time customizing this is so in your best interest. Like, my welcome email is probably what's the most famous thing about my list, because it's the story about how I was so happy that you signed up for my mailing list. I went out and I got your name tattooed on my inner arm to remind me of the day that you signed up for my mailing list. And it's just things like that's so on brand for me, because obviously I have a couple tattoos. But it's also something unexpected and hopefully delightful to the right people, that people feel like, okay, I'm in the right place. This guy knows his stuff, but he's also kind of weird and silly. So I feel like I'm connected now a bit more to Paul than I would be. And I think that welcome email is probably the most important email that you'll ever send to your list. So spend some time for sure on making it sound like you and have some sort of action associated with it.
Yeah, I think that's so smart too, because when people just sign up for your list, you're fresh in their mind. So to continue, sorry, this is my cat, guys. Told you it's really informal every week, but yeah, so you're fresh in their mind, and you have the ability to make a really awesome first impression with them. So
Yeah.
great. So so you told us what you include in your welcome email. How would you go about that for someone who has like a content upgrade that they're sending? Would you just add that in with that email that they're already getting?
Yeah, I would both. So I would both welcome them to the list, give them a bit of information about why the list is going to be valuable to them. But then, yeah, here's the link to the PDF or the Excel file or whatever it is that they're getting. Like, make it so here's like you're delivering on your promise. So I promised that I would send you this. Here it is. And also, this is why you should stick around, because a lot of times those opt-ins can also result in a higher unsubscribe rate because people get on, they want it, then they leave. So give them a reason to stay. Give them the value. Maybe share like these are the top 3 most popular articles that I've written for my list that I'm sharing. So if you want more like this, stick around and see what's coming next. So getting them on your list is only half the battle. Keeping them on your list is the rest of it.
Absolutely. I noticed since I started adding in opt-ins on my site that there are more people who end up unsubscribing because they really only want that one content upgrade. So I'm realizing I need to do a better job about following up or adding to those emails and making them more personable.
Yeah, making sure they know why they should stick around past them getting the thing that they signed up to get.
Right. Awesome. Well, we have a bunch of questions here. So I'd love to go ahead and get started on those.
Yeah, let's do it.
If you're ready. Awesome. So Katie asks, when you're just starting out, how do you feel like you're not repeating what's in your blog or on your blog? How do you plan for the perhaps inevitable burnout? So how do you continue? Is there a difference between what you post on your blog and what you send in your newsletter each week?
No, because I only have time to do one article. So because and you have to think about this for your business, what's the most important thing and then what's the second most important thing, because everything can't be important or nothing's important or you don't have time to do all the important things. So for me, my mailing list is what generates all of my revenue. So I send the article that I write each week to my mailing list first. And then a few days later, if I remember, sometimes I don't, I put it on my website because my website only exists to get people onto my mailing list because I don't care about my site past that. So for me, I only write one article a week because I don't have time to write something different for my site versus my newsletter. But I know a lot of people that use their newsletter to share what they posted on their site, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But it's just basically a repurpose of the content. And I think if I was doing that, I would probably share a little bit of backstory or something new with the list that, yeah, you're telling them, hey, I wrote a new blog post, but maybe here's why. Otherwise, they'd just be like, oh, I just could have read this last week on your website. So that's actually why I don't teach RSS campaigns in my MailChimp course, because I personally don't like them. I am probably going to add a lesson on that, but I'm going to add in that you have to add additional value to it. Otherwise, you need to give people a reason to be on your list. Like for me, it's you get the articles before they're anywhere else. I don't even write. I stopped writing for every publication that I used to write for because I just focus on my list right now. And so people, the reason that they sign up for my list is to get those articles first. So if it's not getting those articles first, it has to be something else. So you don't necessarily have to write different content, but you have to repurpose that content in an intelligent way. So maybe it's giving a backstory, or maybe it's giving a little bit of extra, or maybe it's giving like a bonus. Like say you're writing something technical, and then your mailing list gets the spreadsheet associated with it. And then on the website, that's the content upgrade. So if they sign up, they get that. And then you segment your list, and you don't send that content upgrade to the people who've already received it.
Yes.
It's super, super smart. It's so much fun to do that kind of stuff.
And I love that you take the priority with your mailing list before your blog, because it's still important to share that content. People find your site and then they end up signing up for your list. So that site traffic is really important. But yeah, and I would say too, for my mailing list, I share a weekly action step so that I know that the people who are following along with me, if they like following along with the blog, they are entrepreneurs who love the information. So instead of giving them that information, I challenge them to actually act on it and give them an action step every week. So they're not getting that on the blog. It doesn't take me long to write. Actually, I really enjoy writing it every week. But it gives me a chance to pop up in their inbox. And for me, having an idea in mind or a theme helps me when I go to create content. So before I was sharing with people how I was trying to grow my blog to 100,000 unique monthly visitors. And then once I reached that, I transitioned into the weekly action steps. So differentiating it. Thanks. Yeah, that's exciting.
But see, that's something that's unique to, like, the action step is something unique to your newsletter. That's a reason for people to be on your newsletter and not just like, yeah, your site's important, but that's a reason for people to read it in your newsletter form as well as on the website. So people want to be on the list because they get those action items, which I think is really key. But that's not you writing a brand new article. That's you adding a little bit more because you've traded to get that person's email and to show up in their inbox. So really smart.
And sometimes too, I'll go back to old posts that I've written like more than a year ago, and I'll take from a little bit of that content and then put an action step on it too. So you can repurpose old content, but I want people who are on my mailing list to feel like those are my closer group.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
That's my tribe. People who come to the blog will come and go, but the people on my mailing list are going to get extra.
Yeah, and if you treat those people really well and you treat those people like the most important people, then they will reciprocate that.
Right.
Which is nice.
Yes, and they'll want to hang on too if they're getting value. Great question, Katie. Kim asks, I'm just starting out, so I have no blog, no website, and no mailing list. What should I work on first?
Well, I think the blog and the website could probably be the same thing. You should probably make those the same thing. And I think you kind of need those first because otherwise nobody's going to know there's no way to sign up for your list. But you can do those in tandem. Like, it takes a couple minutes to sign up for a MailChimp account, and then it gives you the code, or you can just install a plugin, or you can just use the Squarespace thing that Lauren showed me how to do to add it to the site. I don't remember the actual word. But
there's a block.
Yeah, so you can add a block. So you can do those in tandem. But you do need some mechanism for people to sign up for your mailing list. So you do need to have that website. But the mailing list is really just 10 minutes of extra work to add that in. So I'd probably do them all at the same time.
Yeah, and I think one thing that keeps people from getting started is feeling like they have to have it all figured out all at once. Get it up and running and you can change it as you go.
Yeah. I've been blogging for almost 20 years and I still make changes. Like, just get something up there and it's good enough for now, and then you can change it later. Like, I'm still changing. It's been like 2 decades. I'm still changing things. So
which means that Paul is like 5. Right, Paul? You're like 5. Exactly. But awesome. Great question, Kim. Yeah. Kate asks, after weeks of posting, how do I not feel alone at the keyboard? What are some strategies I can use to encourage participation?
That's a great question, and that's actually something I was reading on my friend Alex Franzen's website. He's listening, she's watching. Like my favorite post, and that was her most recent post, I think. And basically, I think a lot of times we get caught up in our heads with these vanity metrics of like, I need to have this many followers or this many subscribers, and all those things make you feel good. But like, I don't care about the number of subscribers on my list. I care about the number of people who are engaged with my content, and sometimes one is enough. Like, if you reach one person and they make some sort of positive change or they learn something, then you've won. Basically, you made the world a better place because you've helped one person. And the story that she tells in her blog is like tear moving. Like, it's a great story on her site. But I think that and ways to encourage participation is really just asking for it. Like, when I started out and my list was in the hundreds, I would ask a question. I would end every blog post, every newsletter with a question. Even somebody like Chris Brogan, who probably has like 200,000 or 300,000 people on his list, he always asks, and it's really, really smart. And it's kind of like people that don't study marketing would just kind of like gloss past. He always asks what you're drinking, because it's an easy question to answer. It's an easy question to foster and encourage participation. Whereas if you ask some like really profound, life-altering thing, it may be really hard to answer that question. But answering something as innocuous as like, what are you drinking right now? Is like, it's really easy to answer, and then a connection is made. Even what's his name, the travel guy, Chris Guillebeau, wrote a personal email to the first 10,000 people that signed up for his mailing list. So his welcome email, he wrote each individually, and he looked at some people's websites that had custom domains, and that kind of thing, like that builds a tribe of people who are stoked. And I think encouraging participation a lot of the time is just asking for it, and asking for it in the right way. Like maybe your welcome email starts with a question like, how can I help? Or what are you struggling with? Or that, or things kind of like that. Or even, what are you drinking right now? So I think, yeah, I mean, a lot of times people have that feeling, and I don't think Katie is alone in feeling alone with the writing that she's doing. But I think it's important to, think about like reaching one person most of the time is enough, and two, to encourage participation, ask for it in different ways.
Right. I think when you make these emails and these newsletters less about you, and you focus more on the people you're writing to and how you can help them and what value you're bringing. Because I know so with my action steps, I know the things that I've found helpful, somebody else might find helpful. And at the end of each one, I say, I want to hear how this is going for you. And of course, not everybody responds, but I'll get people weeks after the fact who have implemented something and then say, oh my goodness, this was so helpful. Thank you. And it might be one person, like you said, but that's enough. Because you can see how many people are opening it. I get the feeling of feeling alone when you don't get that feedback. So I think it's right. Provide value. And encourage participation. Ask them how it's going, and just be personable in your emails.
Exactly. The bottom of my email for the longest time, it no longer says this because I guess it's kind of implied, is that this newsletter is a two-way broadcast. So if you have a question or if you have something to say, just hit reply. And the only reason I don't say that now is because everybody knows. Like if you email, and sometimes like I get 200 or 300 emails on Sundays, and that's pretty awesome. Like I look forward to reading all of those. Sometimes it takes me till Monday or Tuesday, but like I look forward to the fact that it's not just me like blabbing out stuff to people. It's people interacting and engaging, and I actually like that more than the social media, to be honest.
Absolutely. I'm much quicker to respond to people who respond to a newsletter than I am to a tweet.
Yeah.
Sadly. Yeah. All right. Joe asks, what sort of calls to action should I put in my newsletter? I feel like I'm only referring my subscribers back to the blog, but not leading them anywhere else. Would love some ideas. That's a great question.
That is a great question. I think that comes down to the purpose of your business and the purpose of your newsletter. And I think a lot of times when we don't know the answer to a question like this, we need to bring it back a step and think about, okay, what's my intention with this newsletter in the first place? So for me, it's communicating with my audience. And then when I have stuff that I make for sale, I like to tell them about it. So for me, I don't have 90% of the time, there's no call to action. The call to action is just read it. If you want to read it. So for me, there isn't a call to action, because based on my business goals and my intentions and my purpose, I don't need one. When I'm selling something, then yeah, there's going to be a link to buy the product. But I don't necessarily I can't remember the last time I referred people to go to my blog, because that doesn't help me personally run my business. So for other people, that's super important. So that should be what the call to action is. But I think it's important to take that back a step and to figure out, okay, why are you sending this email in the first place? And you'll probably get your answer, because it'll be different for everybody.
Yeah, some people, the purpose of their newsletter is to drive people back to the blog.
Yeah, exactly.
Like sharing those blog posts, that makes sense. For me, I share the Ellechat each week. So the call to action is go register, and we can talk about this even more in the Ellechat.
Yeah.
Or like with Kate, who asked about getting people to engage, the call to action should be hit reply and let me know how this is going, or answer this question. So that could be your call to action too.
Exactly.
Awesome. So Jessica asks, where are some other places I can get subscribers to my list other than just my blog or social media? Yeah,
so I touched on this as well, and that's if you do interviews or guest writing for other people, then in your byline you could have like every byline I've ever had for any article or every interview that I've done has talked about my newsletter with a link to it. And for sometimes, like if I'm doing, say, a big interview, I'll make a custom landing page for people of that interview. So say I'm on Chris Brogan's show, then I'll say, like, if you go to my website, like pjarvis.com/Brogan, there's a special bonus for you. And I'll make something small. It doesn't have to be big, for people who, something that people would likely be interested in if they're fans of Chris Brogan. And then there's a sign up for the list, like, hey, welcome people who listen to me talk with Chris Brogan today. Make it super personal and super specific. And then that really, really helps in driving signups. If I write something for Fast Company, I'll make a custom page like pjarvis.com/FC and be like, welcome Fast Company reader. If you liked my article on X, sign up for my list below. And then maybe you also get this spreadsheet that'll help you figure out something related to the topic. So at one time, I probably had about 20 custom landing pages for different interviews and different articles that I was writing. But for the bigger stuff, that totally, like, that's the difference sometimes between like a couple dozen subscribers and a couple hundred subscribers. So you can get super complicated like that, or just include it in your byline for everything that you do.
That is so smart. And it takes it back to, why are you guest posting? Like, what's the purpose in that? Are you trying to build your list? Are you trying to build your authority? Are you trying to do both? But I think that that's so smart. One thing also, and I know that we're running low on time, but and there's got to be a better way to do this, but when I was marketing my Adobe Illustrator course and I shared it on Illustrator, or I shared it on Instagram rather, the other I word, I knew that for some people to go to my profile and click that one link I'm given and then go to that page and then put their email in was just too much. They wanted to stay in Instagram. So I said, if you're interested in learning more and you want to sign up for my list, add your email address in the comments. And I would get, I think, over 100 at some points saying, yes, I'm interested. And we would go in manually and add them, which was a pain, but I passed it off to Jake. He can do that. That's fine. But that was really effective too on social media, just to say, here, I don't want you to take any extra steps. Just leave it in the comments.
And that's so smart to make it easy. You want to make it easy. And so for Instagram, it's a little hard, but I think what Lauren just said, super, super smart. Facebook lets you automatically add people to your list if they click Facebook ad, like a Facebook lead, which is fairly new. Twitter cards. If you create a Twitter card that connects to MailChimp, which I even teach in the course, you can pin that to the top of your profile, like my profile on Twitter. The top tweet is sign up for Sunday. It's actually talking about BuzzFeed making fun of my newsletter. But it's like the silliest call to action, because I took their words verbatim and flipped it to something that sounds good about my list. But there's ways in everything other than Instagram to get people to click one button, and that, like, Twitter shares their email with MailChimp or Facebook shares their email with MailChimp. And it's really because you're making it easy. You're making it so easy for them to sign up that they click a single button and that's it.
Right. Yeah, the easier, the better. The less steps they have to take, the better. But yeah, another great question. All right, guys, we're low on time. I'm sorry that we still have 17 questions in there. Maybe we'll have to do a follow-up because I think this is the most amount of questions we've ever had. But Paul, thank you so much for joining in and sharing your wisdom with us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. This was a whole lot of fun, so thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. And also, for the Chimp Essentials course, before we go, tell me about it. And today is the last day to register, right?
Yes, it's only available. So it's only available to purchase for March. So March ends today. But if you buy it, you get access. I don't take away access for people that have already bought it. If you buy it, you have access forever. So Chimp Essentials is basically all of the things that Lauren and I were talking about today, but in an easier way to follow along, because it's me, and for a few lessons, it's myself and Lauren walking through in videos how to set up things like automation, segments, how to A/B test, how to set up and read reports properly. And basically all of the things, because MailChimp costs money, but it's all of the things that you can use to get MailChimp to help make you money, which is the goal. Like I use MailChimp because because like I said in the beginning, I make $120 for every dollar that I spend. So
Crazy.
I want other people to be able to do all of these things to get them to a point where they're sending the right emails to the right people at the right times. And that's Chimp Essentials is all about that.
Yeah, I would highly, highly recommend it. I thought I knew MailChimp. I did not. So I have a button right, it should be like right here on your screen. And it says register for Chimp Essentials. And again, it ends today. We didn't really plan it like that.
That's just,
we did not plan the webinar for this reason, but if you're interested, obviously Paul knows a lot about it. They're really quick lessons too, and it'll help you so much. If you know how to use your mailing list on the back end and organize it, you'll be able to so much more effectively reach your audience. So
yeah.
Thank you again, Paul. Really appreciate it.
No problem. This is awesome.
Yes. And again, thank you all for joining in. Next Thursday, I'll be meeting with Shar from Shar Co. And she's going to be talking about brand storytelling. So if you're interested, I'll go ahead and update the Ellechat page later this afternoon. But if you click on my name, and I think my window looks different from you guys, but I think it's in the top left corner, you can go to my account and you can see the next Ellechat, and you can go ahead and be one of the first to register for next Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you guys for joining in. Best wishes with your mailing list, and I hope to see you in another Ellechat soon. Bye.